Shirl, you are one of the most influential figures in wealth management today.
I like to say the market's always right, and right now it's heavily skewed towards the independent wealth management space.
So you would say without a doubt, this is the future of wealth management.
There's no question, I think it's the future of wealth management.
Named Entrepreneur and CEO of the Year, Shirl Penney is one of the world's most respected wealth management executives, bringing independence to over 60 wealth management companies and over $130 billion in assets under administration.
What's even bigger, Steve, and the press doesn't talk about this, which is kind of surprising to me. If you go to your advisor who works for a product manufacturer and you say, I want a fiduciary agreement because I want you legally to have to do what's in my best interest, they will not be allowed to sign that. What does that tell you?
Nobody warned the world that just a kid from small town Eastport, Maine, would go on to disrupt the entire financial industry. Pioneering the independent movement, Shirl didn't wait for opportunities. He built them.
I will tell you, without exception, and we've helped hundreds of advisors go independent, inevitably, they look at me and they say,
For investors who maybe don't have a front row seat to what is going on with Dynasty Financial Partners, explain a little bit about the mission behind what you guys are doing.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. So I founded Dynasty Financial Partners, actually started the journey in the height of the financial crisis, April of 2008. And I grew up in the industry working at a firm called Citigroup Smith Barney. But I left in large part because what I saw at that time was an early trend in our industry where more and more clients, the end consumer, was looking to get their advice separate from where products are manufactured and sold. A lot of the misalignment within wealth management happened when some of the bigger wealth management firms started to go public, right? And I mean, it's not complicated, but you have, a leadership team that works for the board, and the board works for the shareholders. And there could be misalignment then between an advisor who's an employee who reports to the leadership team, who says, hey, we need to go drive profits, which means we need to go cross-sell all of these products, right, to as many households as possible. Now, the advisor, who the vast majority of advisors in our industry, there's exceptions to everything, but the vast majority of advisors are really good people. And they look at, a mortgage or a loan or a life insurance policy or a hedge fund, whatever it is, and they might be thinking, well, my client doesn't need that, right? But they're getting pushed to do it. And there's sales competition and competitive pressure and all these things that happen to drive them to do it. And I think that's leading to more and more advisors saying, you know what, there's a better way for me to cover my clients, and I'm going to go independent, and I'm only going to work for my client, and I'm going to build the service model and the coverage model the way I want, and I'm only going to recommend things that in my heart I think are what's best for the client. I'm going to sign a fiduciary agreement that says I'm legally obligated to only do what's best. And I say to clients, I'll say this to your listeners now, if you don't have a fiduciary agreement in place with your advisor, I'm going to ask you why not, right? And by the way, if you go to your advisor who works for a product manufacturer and you say, I want a fiduciary agreement because I want you legally to have to do what's in my best interest, they will not be allowed to sign that. And Steve, I'll tell you, we have 600 advisors, but 135 billion now that's on the platform, 60 RIAs in aggregate that we support. I'll do hundreds of end client meetings every year with our advisors. And when we talk about this model, especially if an advisor's in transition and setting up their RIA for the first time, it's like 45 seconds. You talk about the triangulation of advice, and someone just says intuitively, I get it. And then they look at me and say, why wouldn't everyone want that? And that's why we're seeing this massive acceleration towards the fiduciary independent wealth management space.
I want to talk for a minute about OpenArc, a significant move towards independence for those that maybe are unfamiliar, the largest I think that we've ever seen. I've got a quote here from CFO Michael Sontag. He says, when it comes to delivering financial services, clients want the most talented advisors, innovative technology, and access to the most effective products and solutions, regardless of the provider. They also want to know that their interests are not competing with those of the firm or advisor that they've hired. The dated wirehouse model is weighed down with proprietary products and bureaucracy. In our opinion, we don't believe this is best for our clients, and independence is where the industry is headed.
I will tell you, without exception, and we've helped hundreds of advisors go independent, inevitably, within the first couple of weeks, when we're having that sit-down conversation where they can start to breathe a little bit, they're on the other side, they've talked to all their big clients, assets are coming over, they look at me and they say, I should have done it sooner.
So you would say, without a doubt, this is the future of wealth management.
There's no question. I think it's the future of wealth management. I think technology is helping to fuel the fire and accelerating it. I like to say the market's always right. And if you listen to it, right, you can see, right, where consumer demand is. And right now, it's heavily skewed towards the independent wealth management space.
You mentioned a minute ago the numbers behind Dynasty.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a lot about that here in a little bit. But I want to kind of shift gears, because a lot of the success that you are having today, in many ways, is in stark contrast to your humble roots and beginnings. And I'd love to take the conversation back to 1976, Eastport, Maine.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about growing up.
So 1976, December 11th, 1976 is my birthday. So I appreciate the reference to 76. And I was born in a small fishing village in the easternmost point of Maine, appropriately named Eastport. And it's a little fishing village, Steve, of about 1,400 people. And my mother, at the time, I don't even think she had turned 16. She was still 15. And my father was a Canadian gentleman who I've never met. And she had me, and I think the notion was to perhaps give me up for adoption. And at the time, my step-grandfather, his name is Clarence Townsend, was in his late 50s, fourth grade education, dirt poor, came to check on his stepdaughter. And I was a 9-pound baby, so it was not an easy process. I actually split my head open. And my step-granddad just went to see me, and it was much of a house as it was a hospital. I mean, this is in rural Maine. And essentially said, if this kid makes it through the night, I'm going to take him. Just instantly kind of fell in love with me and said, I wouldn't want him ever to go to an abusive home. And so at that moment, he decided to do that, came back the next day. Obviously, I was still alive. And he put me in a clothes basket. We grew up next to a Native American tribe called the Passamaquoddy tribe. And a lot of my great friends in my youth were members of the tribe. Actually played baseball when I was younger for the local Native American team, which was awesome. And he had been given this basket by one of the elders for helping. He used to clean stoves, oil stoves and wood stoves. It's kind of what he did for work. And one elder couldn't pay him, so she gave him a basket after he did the pro bono work for her, because he didn't want her to be cold in the winter. So anyhow, he brought that basket he threw some clothes in it and put me in the basket, put me in the car next to him, and we drove home, 20 minutes or so to our little 350 square foot home. We had one little bedroom, and it had no insulation. The house he had bought the house in the early 60s for about $600. It was 400 or 500 yards up from the beach where he was born himself as a kid, so he lived his whole life there. He was handicapped. He had a fourth grade education, oldest boy in a family of 8 during the Depression, so he had to quit school to help support his siblings. He was very proud of the fact that his other siblings graduated high school. But super high integrity, honest, never borrowed money, didn't believe in borrowing money, didn't believe in spending money that you didn't have. And he was incredibly present for me. He was there at every game, every parent-teacher conference. I remember, in the morning, if I was sick, I didn't feel good, I had chicken pox. He said, get up, You're going to be present. You're going to school. I'd be standing in the snowbank 15 minutes early before the doors open, because he said, I don't want you to live a life like I lived. And I want you to ultimately find a passion, find a job where you can work with your mind and not your hands. So I actually got perfect attendance, K through 12. And I think the only kid, in our school system, I got an award for it, all because of my granddad, just kind of instilling that in me. But unfortunately, when I was 12 years old, the house was falling down around us. And as we'd go into winter, Steve, what we would do is we would go out and cut trees down, chop it up, and we would literally fill the entire house with wood. And we'd go out fishing, raking blueberries, and we'd fill up the freezer with fish. So I actually don't eat a lot of fish now, because I would eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we would take turns every couple hours. We shared a little double bed, and we would take turns and we'd shut the little house down. We had a wood stove in the bedroom, and we'd take turns every couple hours getting up in the middle of the night and feeding the wood stove. However, I do remember this vividly. We had somebody, a state official, came to the house one day and said, this house is now unsafe to have a child living here. And they actually condemned the house that we were living in. And I went to school. I came back home, and the house was gone. They had knocked it down. So when I was 11, 12, and probably half of my 13-year-old year, we were homeless. And, Maine is not the most forgiving place to be homeless. But fortunately, and I believe that very strongly, it takes a community to raise a child. And the community really leaned in to help my granddad and I. And in the winter in particular, we would stay with neighbors. We never stayed with the same neighbor. And that was tough on my granddad, but he would see me every day. We couldn't burden the same neighbor because everyone there is poor. And I remember working ever since I was little to pay rent, if you will, to help with groceries and those types of things. But the local Native American tribe that I mentioned, the Passamaquoddy tribe, wanted to build crafts for their youth, so they started a carpentry school. And a lot of their young members of the community signed up for it. And their first project was to rebuild a little house for this elderly gentleman and his step-grandson. And it took them a couple years. They didn't always show up when they were supposed to. But when we moved back in, I was 14, maybe almost 15 by the time we moved back in. And that was the first time in my life I'd ever had a shower. Because our old house, while we did have a sink with running water, we didn't have a shower. So I would bathe in a pot in the kitchen sink with a washcloth. And so having a shower was an exciting experience for me, since I played a lot of sports at that point. I was playing basketball and soccer and baseball and cross country and the like. Actually played chess, although I didn't sweat as much when I played chess. And it had a little furnace, which was the ultimate gift from my granddad, right? For us not to have to get up in the middle of the night, feed the wood stove anymore. So we lived there until ultimately I graduated high school, and I went off to Bates College in Lewiston, Maine. And I looked at other schools outside of the state, and in retrospect, I'm very happy that I went to school in the state of Maine, because it allowed me, Steve, I'd say every month or so, I captained the baseball team, and I did a bunch of entrepreneurial things and studied economics at Bates. But it allowed me to come home and see my granddad, which was a very special time, because ultimately he died in my arms the day before I graduated college, the day before I graduated Bates, and I wouldn't trade the engagement and the time that I got to spend with him over those 4 years, obviously, for anything.
Yeah. I know you made a special request to the dean. Tell me about that.
When my granddad, it became evident that he wasn't going to make it. I called the school. I called my baseball coach. His name is Bob Flynn. who'd been there forever. And I said, I need a favor. And I know the school has really never released the diploma early, but you guys know my situation. I'm making a decision tomorrow morning to take my grandfather off life support. He had cancer, he had double pneumonia, he wasn't gonna make it. And look, I'm a 21, 22-year-old kid, and imagine taking your whole family and God forbid having them go down in an airplane, right? Like that's my whole family. And they said, absolutely, let us work to get it printed early, and we're gonna get it to you right away. So my college baseball coach drove it to me in the hospital in Bangor, Maine, where we were. And my granddad was in pretty severe pain at that point. So I made the decision to lower the pain meds so that he could become conscious. And I showed him the diploma and I said, we did it. And I remember, laughing. The diploma was written in Latin. And I said, I don't speak Latin. So I called him Papa, my granddad. And I said, oh, Papa, I can't read it either, but here's what it says. It says, we did it. You did it. And I'm giving this to you because you sacrificed way more for it than I ever did. So I gave it to him, took him off life support. He made it until the following morning. He died. It was evident that it was time. I lifted him up and I held him. He died in my arms. I took him back home and buried him with that diploma. And then I got on a bus for 16 hours and I went to New York and started the journey to get hired and to start to build my career on Wall Street.
It's an incredible, incredible story. I want to ask you one last question about Clarence. What do you remember most about him? When you think about him, what comes to mind?
My grandfather was tough. He gave me tough love. He certainly held me accountable. If I said I was going to do something, it has to happen. He didn't live in a world of contracts, right? But he lived in a world where his word was his bond. And if I tell you I'm going to see you next Friday, to do something for you at your house, like I'm going to be there. So I'm old school in large part, and I'm old school in business, I'm old school in my relationships, in large part because of how I was raised by my grandfather. He never got overextended. I'll tell you an incredible story, Steve. He went when I was, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this, he went to the local funeral home, and he had an appraisal done on how much it was going to cost to bury him. And I was probably, judging by the photo, which I'll tell you about in a second, I was probably 10 or 11 years old at the time. It's right around the time where we would have became homeless. And he had this appraisal, and of course he's going to put himself in a cardboard box and do it as cheap as he could. And it was like $2,000. This guy saves $5 a month for the next 10 years so that he wouldn't burden me. And he had a friend who was a local bank manager who gave him a safety deposit box. And when he passed, I went to the safety deposit box, which I'd never gone to prior. And I opened it up, and there's the $2,000 with a paper clip with a photo of me at 11, 12, an old school picture with the classic lasers, behind me, and a note on it and said, this money is for my grandson so that he can bury me. I didn't bury him in a box, so I borrowed some money from some other friends, but yeah, he just fiscally disciplined, honest as the day is long, just he believed in total transparency, even when it might be hard for the other person to hear it. We told each other we loved each other every day, which you wouldn't think that an uneducated, rough and gruff guy would do. So he certainly taught me a lot about family values just through being who he was.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about his legacy and how you've kind of extended that with family. We'll shift gears a little bit. You mentioned Smith Barney.
Yeah.
So walk us through the interview process. I know that was one where I think a train was involved or a bus. Walk us through that process of getting from Bates all the way out to New York.
So when I was at Bates, my junior year, I interned at the Smith Barney office in Portland, Maine. And I said, look, I'll be the first in, last to leave. I always say I'm not going to be necessarily the smartest person in every room I walk in, but I'm going to be the hardest working person. And that's been the case my whole life, my whole career. I think you get out of things in life what you put in. So I said, look, all I want in trade is an opportunity when a senior executive is coming through Portland. Give me an opportunity to sit down and have an interview. So near the end of that internship, there was a gentleman named Joe Mara. Joe Mara was a senior executive with Smith Barney Asset Management. He came through, and we sat down. It was scheduled to be a half-hour interview. Hour and a half later, he looks at his watch and he says, "Oh no, I'm late for my flight. Will you give me a ride to the airport and we can continue this conversation?" And I said, "Sure." But as we're walking to the car, I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I have a $600 car that I hand painted that had 190,000 miles on it. It was like my locker room with all my baseball gear and everything there. But I was like, you know what? He's going to see the authentic, real version of me. Thankfully, he loved that, right? So he got in the car. It reminded him when he was younger. I dropped him off. He made his flight. Roll the clock forward. They didn't have a role. So I stayed in touch with him over the next year because that was my senior year. So as he tells the story, and I remember it, pretty similar. I called him probably 30 times. Mm-hmm. I was, in my mind, pleasantly persistent and said, I need this interview. And then along the way, my granddad got sick. Mm-hmm. So I was literally doing phone interviews in the waiting room in the hospital as my granddad was, passing in the last couple weeks of his life. After he passed, he said, okay, now we're ready for that interview. Yeah. So I get on a Greyhound bus from Bangor, Maine. It goes through Boston and then into New York. I'd never been to New York City. I had never seen a revolving door or an escalator in my life, and the meeting was at 388 Greenwich Street, right? And I'm a sponge for information, so I had read everything I could read about Sandy Weil, the legend on Wall Street at that time, and who had built Smith Barney. I don't think I was quite naive enough to think I was going to meet Sandy that day, but I had certainly read a lot about his company and self-taught. And I was ready, I thought, for the moment until I ran into somebody coming out of the door because I didn't realize how these revolving doors worked. And I got my quick rude awakening and welcome to New York, being yelled at. And they said, well, you don't know how to walk through a revolving door? And what I didn't say out loud is, no, actually I don't. So anyhow, thankfully I was there early, and I spent a full day. I mean, like 13, 14 hours in interviews. And, fascinating conversations. People wanted to know about my eBay business because that was still new in my background and whatnot. And they said, okay, we really like you. Come back next week for a second round interview. Yeah. And I thought, you have to be kidding me. 14 hours in interviews, 15 hours on a bus. You can't make a decision. And so anyhow, the first time I flew, they paid to fly me back the next week. My suit, by the way, Steve, it fit me like this, right? It was a suit I bought at the Salvation Army in Bangor, Maine for $13. It also, embarrassingly, I'll say, it had a hole in the crotch. So I was quick to cross my legs in the meeting. Anyhow, it all worked out. They offered me a job. And I moved. I took everything I owned at the time, which would fit in a little knapsack, and I moved to New York and started my career at Smith Barney.
That's unbelievable. So, describe your role when you first got to Smith Barney, and then obviously years down the road you had an inflection point where you said, "There's a better way
The way I always approach my career, and I believe in mentorship by committee, and I've been fortunate to have incredible mentors over the course of my career, still have amazing mentors now. The chairman of Dynasty is Harvey Golub, who ran American Express, and just such an incredible blessing to have him in my life. But I started essentially as an analyst, I would say, for Smith Barney Asset Management, but in particular focused on helping the advisors connect the asset management capability to their clients. So I helped build a lot of the first financial planning applications. And by the way, I hadn't seen a computer, hadn't touched a computer until I went to college, right? So self-taught on Excel and whatnot while I was in school. So when I went to New York, I helped build the firm's stock option liquidation what-if scenario planning tools. And since I built it, we built up a team of analysts around me pretty quick. The advisors loved it because it was an incredible education tool that they could then use to show how we could do prudent diversification around a concentrated position, and then obviously diversify it into some of the firm's asset management products. So it also allowed me to, I would say within my first year, probably within 6 months, I was already sitting in front of clients. Yeah. And I remember some profound moments where I would walk out of a meeting and say, 5 years ago, I was standing in line in February at 10 degrees below weather in the sticks of Maine behind a truck waiting for a block of government cheese. And now this person just sold their business for $100 million, and they're asking me what they should do, right, with their money, right? It's just, as I said, it's an incredible country where if you put your mind to something, you're willing to work hard at it, you really can accomplish anything. And so to roll the clock forward, one of my mentors at Smith Barney, a guy named Jerry Eberhardt, who's on my board, and he's an investor in Dynasty and just been another great influence in my life. Jerry said, look, you're in New York, you're one of a number of very talented people. Why don't you come out to Los Angeles with me? He was running the whole western part of the United States for Smith Barney, where you won't have as much competition. You'll also be able to live in the field and get closer to the advisors and their clients, right? Which is where the magic happens in our industry. There's no better way to learn our industry than getting out of an ivory tower and getting out and actually talking to the consumer, the client, understanding, what it is they're looking for in terms of financial advice and service and the like, and then understanding the challenges that the advisors have up close and personal, and being able to get in those meetings. And that started, a long love affair, if you will, with the profession. Yeah. And I love financial advisors. I love everything about some of their quirky personalities. The fact that they love their clients, that we stand and deliver, to help them take better care of their clients, build better businesses. We do those things so that they, in turn, can take better care of their clients. And for the last 25 plus years, my life has been profoundly changed, as we've been discussing, because financial advisors have trusted me to be their partner. As a result, I then ran the corporate executive initiative. It's called Executive Financial Services. We worked on some incredible companies that we had taken public at that time. But what I realized, Steve, is so many of the clients sitting on the other side of the table were entrepreneurs. And not in any smug way, just an intellectually curious way. I began asking myself, what's the difference between them and me? And fundamentally, it was just that they saw a problem, they thought they had a solution to address it, and they had the courage, right, to walk out from doing whatever it is that they were doing to become an entrepreneur, which is really hard to do. And I said, that's what I want to do. So after hundreds of meetings with elite entrepreneurs, which I was blessed to be able to do. And I had gone to senior management and said, look, this independent movement, this REA movement, it's early innings, but it's here to stay. Yeah. We should start providing product and services to the independent space. They basically, pat me on the head and said, look, young guy, like, you're still young and naive. No, your job's to put all these REAs out of business. And I said, no, because I'm out listening to the client. Yeah. I know what the client wants. They're not going to go out of business. It's going to accelerate. So that created a catalyst for me to leave. And a lot of my mentors had ended up leaving as well. Smith Barney was merged with a bank, with Citibank. The bank culture was very different, much less entrepreneurial than it was at Smith Barney. Yeah. So I left in April of 2008, and as I said, sold all my Citigroup stock at 32 on the way to $1. And then my wife and I went 2 years, 7 months, and 4 days. She kept track of how long we went without a paycheck, and we officially launched Dynasty December 4th of 2010.
So when you reflect back, you look back at the kind of the origin of Dynasty. What was the vision then? Obviously, it's changed a lot based on the momentum that you guys have had over 15 years. But what was the original vision for the company?
The original vision, and it came out of a meeting with a very well-known billionaire that all of your viewers and listeners would know, where I was introducing him to Sandy Weil as part of what we used to call a VIP trip, bringing in a large client or prospect. And near the end of the meeting, he turned to me and he said, I'm worth X billions. Why would I ever buy retail? Why would I access your firm and capability through an advisor? I have a family office. I should be an institutional client of your business. And we started to have a conversation, which led me, to taking a napkin, which I still have, and drawing on it the triangulation of advice. The idea came from meetings like that, which then allowed me to say, okay, I see a problem. Went home, talked to my wife, who was even more courageous than me, to be honest, who said, I believe in you. You've been talking about this for a while. Your whole life you wanted to be an entrepreneur. We spent a decade here, and in that decade I'd probably worked two decades worth of hours, right? So if you work that many hours, you have that much more experience. Now is a time there is a distrust that's been accelerated towards the big financial institutions. From a timing standpoint, the timing is really good. Let's go for it. And 135 billion in assets later, and becoming I think we're the fastest growing firm in the independent wealth space for a number of years in a row. It's working.
I want to talk a little bit about leadership. Entrepreneur of the Year for the state of Florida. Think Advisors Luminary Award for CEO of the Year. When you look at your leadership across the company, I had the privilege of sitting in your town hall yesterday, and I was taken aback by the amount of emphasis that you put towards culture. Yeah. There was 2 or 3 hours worth of culture conversation going on. One of the things that I was astounded by was the fact that you do a culture survey. And I know you learned this from a mentor of yours, but you read something like 1,100 or 1,200 responses from employees. And you say
3,300.
3,300, excuse me. Yeah. And you do this every year?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about why that's so important for the organization and for you as a leader.
But I want to create a purposeful space where we're stepping back to work on the business, not just work in the business, where we can have honest, transparent conversations about what's working, but for me, more importantly, what's not working, right? I tell the team, bad news I need to know right away. Call me at 10 o'clock on a Friday night if there's something that you feel I need to know that is negative. The good news, tell me on Wednesday morning next week, right? And that's the seat you sit in, right, as a leader or CEO, where a lot of the more challenging stuff has to roll up. But for us, our culture is all about camaraderie, teamwork, one team, one dream. If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. We're all about, just, and I know I'm using a word that you typically wouldn't use in business, the word of love, but our culture is one where we love our clients, right? When they call us late in the evening on a Friday, it's yes, yes, right? This advisor is calling because they know that we can help them, right? And so our culture is client first. It is one that prides itself on the fact that we're all doing something together that's bigger than what any of us could do individually. It's one where we're proud of the returns that we're driving for those that bet on us with the investors, our resource partners, whether they're asset managers, custodians, technology, service providers. When we're growing so fast and we're easier to work with, not easy all the time, just easier, because we have a standard of excellence that we drive towards. All of those things collectively, right, will allow us to win consistently over time.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys passed out some coins yesterday.
Yeah,
Describe
culture
those.
coins. Yeah. I came up with this idea of a culture coin, which then one of the team members went out and took it and designed them and built them. They look like a really thick kind of a Bitcoin, if you will. And I hand them out to different people each quarter. We have quarterly town halls. And I'm taking feedback and I'm observing as well, but people who are really cultural leaders within the business. And we give them a culture coin, and should they choose to accept it, which they typically do, they're required to take out for lunch, breakfast, drinks, whatever they want to do, with a cap of $300 budget. And I do that purposely so that they don't take out 25 people, but they're taking out 6 or 7 people. They have to once a month do that with their department, right? So it's building camaraderie within the department. But once a month they have to do it with 6 or 7 people who are not in their department. Yeah. And oftentimes they'll take photos and post on social, and that's wonderful. But what I ask for in return is a quick summary, not with the names, but just what was discussed, right? What were some of the things that were discussed that the group felt were doing well, and what are some of the things where there are room for improvement? And there's just been some great ideas that have percolated up as part of it. But more than that, it's one tool of many that we use to break down silos within the organization so that everyone understands, their role in the firm and how it fits with their teammates, so that holistically and collectively they know, that we're going to be this well-oiled machine that's delivering this high-quality integrated experience set to an RIA that chooses to partner with us.
Shirl, I know when you look back and you reflect over the last 15 years, there's bound to be some milestone moments for the company. Talk a little bit about those.
Well, I guess the first one would obviously be the day we launched. And I remember that, vividly, just walking into the office and the sense of pride that we did it in terms of launching the business. Of course, any entrepreneur will know that just means the real work began. Onboarding our first client. Our first RIA that believed in us was a firm called Pactolus, an advisor named Alan Harder. I had worked with Alan in the past at Smith Barney, and I just said, hey, look, trust me, you're going to jump out that window, and the hand chute's going to go up, and we'll figure out how to safely land you down below. That was an important moment for us. It actually was amazing. I remember a lot of television networks, a lot of industry press started writing at that time, what's the Dynasty impact going to be on the industry? So our brand, I think, consistently has punched above its weight, which I'm really, really proud of. Along the way, we started the business as a wealth tech business, and pretty quickly our advisors were telling us there's other services that they needed. So probably 4 years in, we launched our investment platform. In our industry, people would call that a TAMP, turnkey asset management platform. We're now, I believe, the fourth largest TAMP in the industry. We're close to $80 billion that's on the TAMP. I think we'll be at 100 quickly. And, that's access to separate managed accounts and UMAs and alternative investments and the like. So launching that was really important to us. Along the way, our advisors said, look, we need a high-quality investment bank and access to capital, whether it's to fuel our growth through M&A, whether it's to help with succession planning, maybe practice what we preach with some diversification of our biggest asset, which is the RIA. So we launched a capital business. We launched Dynasty Connect. And people can come to the Dynasty Connect website, learn about the benefits of an independent advisor, and then ultimately engage with us to get connected. So launching those business verticals, I'd be remiss if I didn't say 6 years ago, moving the business to Florida. And, a lot of people, have said to me, wow, did you know COVID was coming? And obviously no, but from a timing perspective, we are very fortunate because we moved here 6 months before, unfortunately, the pandemic. And, it's been great. I used to have, like a lot of people, very long commutes. Now I live on the beach and I get to commute 15 minutes. And my office, overlooks the ocean. It's a nice setup. The availability of talent here, the infrastructure is great.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a more advantageous tax environment. So all of those things have helped to improve our P&L, which then helps improve the balance sheet, which helps us make investments in more people, technology, in things that ultimately have allowed us to further differentiate the business and add more value. And 6 months from now, we're going to be moving to our new office, which is a couple blocks up from where we are now here in St. Petersburg. To what I think, I'm biased when I say this, but I think will be the nicest, coolest, most modern office space, commercial office space in all of Tampa Bay, and I think it'll be something that we're really proud of. The team members and their families will want to spend time there, which we love that when families are in the office. It'll be a great setting for us to host our clients with their advisors, with their clients. And it'll be a great setting for new prospective clients to come down and learn and get educated about independence.
Yeah. I know giving back is a huge part of not just you and your initiatives personally, but also here at Dynasty. What are some of the things that you guys are doing both locally and abroad, in terms of on a much more macro level?
Philanthropy is something that's really important to my family. We have the Penney Family Foundation. It's also something that's really important to us at Dynasty. We have the Dynasty Foundation. A fair amount of the giving that we do with the Penney Foundation, quite candidly, we do anonymously, quietly, for a whole host of reasons. It's not about the ego piece of it. It also, we find, it's hard to say no, and you get asked to do a lot. And the more things you say yes to, the more ultimately you get asked to do. And we're glad that we're in a position and feel blessed that we can continue to do more. But we're not really the people who want their names on a building. That's just not, I'm not judging if someone else wants to. It's just not who we are. But food insecurity, as you can imagine, some of the things that I've lived through, right? So we quietly take care of a number of food banks in our various communities. We believe tremendously in various veteran-related causes, the great protectors and keepers of the American dream that we're fortunate to live. We like to help veterans become entrepreneurs so they can also live the American dream that they spent so much time protecting. So we've done a number of things to help with veterans, making that transition. We do a fair amount of giving to various ALS causes. We do some of that at the national level, but we also do it in a way that we can feel and our kids can see the direct benefit of giving, with whether it's buying someone a wheelchair or equipping their vehicle for a wheelchair and things like that. The Dynasty Foundation, as you might imagine, is heavily focused around financial literacy. So we do a fair amount to help fund programs in schools to make sure that they're able to deliver financial literacy. There's a lot of volunteering that happens with the team here as well. We also like to use the foundation to magnify the local giving that's important to our advisors. So if they're raising capital for an initiative, we'll do that initiative.
Yeah. I want to talk about family. I know it's top of your list.
Yeah, the top.
When you think about Mary Ann and your daughters, what has their support meant to you, particularly over the last 15 years, in terms of all the things that you and the team here at Dynasty have been able to accomplish?
Yeah, the support of Mary Ann and Townsend and Ann Claire it's meant everything, and I say this to them with all sincerity. We wouldn't be here without them, and I feel blessed to feel like I have it all because I married the best life partner that I ever could with Mary Ann. I mean, she is a force of nature. She could run a country. I mean, she is just so talented, but also committed to being an incredible mother. And when we made the decision to do this, I mean, we were living in Saratoga Springs. When I say this, I mean Dynasty. And I went down to New York. I would go down every Sunday night, 9 o'clock. I'd get into our apartment at 1 in the morning. And I would work literally 7:30 in the morning to midnight, all day, every day. People would come see the apartment and say, "Oh, you're a neat freak." I'm like, "No, I just come in, I go to bed, I get up, I shower, I change, I go back in. I don't actually live here other than that." But if you think about that, that's tremendous sacrifice for Mary Ann and the girls, because for the first 10 years of building Dynasty, I never had dinner with my family on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or Thursday night. Right? I'd go back typically on Friday. Now, I did the best I could to not bring home stress of work with me and to be very present as a dad. And if there were big events, school events, or whatever, I was always there. But that's a huge sacrifice and a huge motivator to make it work. And continue to work so that the family gets rewarded for that sacrifice. And I'll say we sit down, every year. We have around the holidays conversations to say, is this still working? Is it causing significant challenges for any one of us within the family? And we've all said no. Like, we love Dynasty. It's quite remarkable. And now one of the benefits of being in Florida is I can have dinner with the family, on a Wednesday. They're really proud of what we've done as a family. Mary Ann is the original co-founder, and try to do my best to make sure that she knows that and is treated that way. I've never made any major hiring decision without involving her. Typically, that includes dinner with the couple, if the other person has a significant other, where we'll go back and debrief and say, is this the right fit? Significant strategic decisions in the business. If she were here now having this conversation, you'd think that she's sitting inside the business. She is definitely one of our biggest shareholders. So it's important, that she's very engaged, and she is. She's probably one of our best salespeople. She loves to come out and be part of closing meetings, and because she's had so many conversations with significant others, she can answer, and she's lived through it herself, right? I mean, we have done, already, and try to do our best to stay in front of where our clients want to go, right? So we've lived all those same life experiences and the emotions, and so she's a big part of it. So yeah, I mean, the family is everything. I couldn't be more proud of who our kids are as people. I mean, they have some great achievements that, I won't go into, but what I'm most proud of is who they are. They're incredibly humble. They have been spoiled with experiences, but not a lot of stuff. And look, it's interesting. They're now at 19 and 17. They're starting to talk about maybe being interested in learning more about business, maybe at some point being a part of Dynasty. Time will tell. I'm really careful not to pressure them. Given the business we're in, I've been around a lot of successful entrepreneurs that I think have applied too much pressure on their kids. If you ask our daughters, what does your dad want you to be when you grow up? They'll say happy.
Let's talk about something I know you and your family are incredibly passionate about: horse racing. How many horses do you have? How did you get into horse racing? Let's hear the story behind it.
Yeah, so first, the name Team Penney is something that we talk about at home, the core four. So my wife, Marianne, and we have two daughters. Our older one is Townsend, and our younger one is Anne Claire. So they're now 19 and 17. We call each other Team Penney. And we try to make decisions in life as a team Penney, which is really special. And my granddad, as you mentioned earlier, his name is Clarence Townsend. Yeah. So Townsend's named for his last name, Townsend. And Anne Claire, unfortunately, we lost my mother-in-law to Lou Gehrig's ALS. Her name was Anne. So Anne Claire, and the Claire is short from Clarence. As she would say, I'm named after both of my angels, my mother-in-law and my granddad. So when my wife and I first got together, we decided to buy a horse in a syndicate, and we both hated it. We had and I've always loved, I played baseball in college, and we'd go to the horse track. It's something the baseball team liked to do. My wife rides horses. She enjoys horses. And it just became something that, as a family, and young girls love horses, so our daughters would love it as well. So we said, let's just go do our own thing. And I think something I did strategically, every once in a while I try to play a little more chess than checkers. So strategically, I said to Marianne, I said, you design the silks and build them in blue and gold after your beloved West Virginia University Mountaineers. So she designed the silks, and they're great. They have the Mountaineer colors, and it has a really cool TPR on it that kind of looks like the Superman emblem. And we started buying horses, and we had a lot of early success, beginner's luck. But what I liked about it is I could interview. I like to build teams, as we've talked about. So I put together teams of some of the best trainers, the best jockeys, the best farm managers, the best bloodstock agents, and we've been curating that now for over 20 years. Yeah. We've owned probably a couple hundred horses over that time. At any given time, the stable is probably 20 horses. Mm-hmm. Probably our favorite horse has been a horse named Flip Cup. Mm-hmm. Her dad's name was Milwaukee Brew, so my wife named her Flip Cup after the fun game. In racing, really for us, I'm so busy with the business, and we're so busy, with family, because family is everything to us, that there's only so much time in the day. And what I realize is some of my personal relationships, right, have unfortunately, taken a bit of a backseat to how much I'm working and to how much time we're spending with the family. But when we have a horse racing, and I'll send a note out, to all of our friends, they all show up. It's something that they enjoy doing. It's different. So you might look at a winner's circle photo of a Team Penney racing horse, and there's 80 people in the winner's circle. And I always give a toast, and oftentimes, on a big race, we'll have dinner the night before. And I always give a toast, and I say, we've won before the gate even opens, right? Because of this moment together, and being so blessed to have the number of friends and family members that we have, and it's great that they all enjoy it, so we get together. And so that's what racing is to us. We've had some luck with it, but it's really the social aspect of it. It's something our whole family can rally behind. Until I buy my first, professional baseball team, or some other pro team. Our racing stable is our pro sports initiative.
I've got one more question for you, and I hope you haven't trademarked it. I've heard you ask this question to just about everybody, and I'm going to ask it to you.
Yeah.
What is Shirl Penney's Triple Crown?
Great question. So obviously you're asking me that because you've seen some of my podcasts around the track, the most exciting 15 minutes in wealth management. And it's interesting, Steve, no one has asked me that, and I've never thought about it. So let me think about it real quick. My Triple Crown. I'm going to answer it as if it's winning all three races. So my Triple Crown, what are these, seemingly almost unattainable goals that sit out there? From a business standpoint, it would be to be the most valued operating platform. And when I say value, I don't just mean economic value, although it's tied to it. The most valued operating platform within wealth management, where if you're an advisor, you want to be plugged into it. If you're an end investor, you want to be serviced by an advisor who is powered by Dynasty, right? And our operating platform is like Netflix, right? And we're continuing to add more content, more capability, more value for those that want to use it. So that would be the first part of it. The second part of it would be all about family and friends. I'll put the friends in that category, where over time I get to live a more deliberate life, which the more success you have, sometimes, the best way to express that is to live a more deliberate life where I can get up for however many days I have left in my life and do within reason exactly what I want to do that day in terms of spending it with who I want, where I want to do it, which is going to be, I'm a bit of a homebody. It'll be in one of our homes, with my wife, kids, God willing, someday also grandkids. So more time, with family and friends that are true friends, that love you for you, not because of what you can do for them. And then the third is to invest in my health. I think in part I'm playing for a new game now. You get to a certain level of success. It's not about chasing money. It's about personal progress, right? When I was young and naive, someone would say, "What is it you want?" I would say more. Now I say progress, right? And progress for me is no longer financial per se. It's intellectual progress. It's relationships. It's the ability to make a difference. And you can't do that over a long period of time if you don't take care of yourself, right? My game now is to be around for those grandkids that hopefully will come later. So my Triple Crown, the third part of it is getting myself, as I go into my 50s and 60s and beyond, in the best, mental and physical state of well-being as possible, so that can interconnect with the other two, and maximize my winning, if you will.
Shirl, I can't tell you how much we appreciate the time. Your story is humbling, to say the least, but more than anything, it's inspiring.
Appreciate it as well. I appreciate you and your whole team. I can tell you care about your baby now as well, and I'm honored and appreciative, and thank you for allowing me to play a little role in helping to launch Investor Magazine. I can tell as I've gotten to know you, it's going to be hugely successful. I'm already a big fan and can't wait to see it go live.